Hello, happy bros. Hey, you're about to get a face full of the Kenn Bosak. He's a mentor. That's what I heard. He's a connector. Oh, yeah. He's a brilliant leader. I've seen it. It's Kenn Bosak. Oh, happy bro. You gotta get some Bitcoin and hold it. Happy bros. You gotta get those NFTs and you gotta hodl that stuff. You gotta hodl it. 'Cause I'm Kenn bro. We got your Bitcoin, bro. He's an original. Buy some NFTs and hold them. How many times does he have to tell you? Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. 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 Yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Bro, we're going to the moon. Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. Real high. Yep. Real high. Hello, happy bros. Come get some Kenn Bosak.
And we're live, bros. How goes it? Thanks everybody for tuning into the live stream today. Shout out to Anarchy Tokens at 50% sale on something. Crypto Annex, Antrix, whatever. Crypto Anarchy. Shout out to you. Brian, thanks for joining the show. Anybody else, thanks. Don't forget to retweet, share, wherever you're watching this. Shout out to my co-host, as always. We got Nathan. And our guest for today is Adam Benzine. How goes it?
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it,
It's a pleasure, man.
Yeah, absolute honor to have you on, bro. I was going over a little bit of your bio, and yeah, please introduce yourself to the audience who may not know who you are.
Sure. So I'm a filmmaker and a journalist, documentary maker, and I made a couple of films. Last year, I made a film called The Curve about America's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It was made in record time, started it in March and released it in October, just before the election. And prior to that, I made a film called Claude Lanzmann, Spectres of the Shoah, which was a biographical documentary about a French filmmaker called Claude Lanzmann, about his life and his work. And that film did well. It was bought by HBO and it got nominated for an Oscar. And part of the reason I'm on the show this week is I minted that film a couple of weeks ago, and Variety did a big story on it, film magazine Variety. And
congrats, by the way.
Yeah, congrats, seriously.
I didn't want to cut you off, but I was like,
I didn't either. That's incredible. That's an accomplishment for sure.
So, for various complex and boring reasons, the Claude Lanzmann film, hadn't been released digitally. And I was planning to release it Vimeo on demand on April the 7th. And ahead of that, I was reading about NFTs, and it seemed like every day it was like the first tweet to be turned into an NFT, the first animated GIF of Nyan Cat to be turned into an NFT, and then it was Kings of Leon and the first artist to turn an album into an NFT. And it seemed like ticking, and I was like, well, which is the first film? And there hadn't been one, and I thought, okay, a few days of intensive cramming, let's try and get my head around this. And I will say, first off, full disclaimer, I'm not sure I even fully do have my head around this. I'm coming from the film world. If I say something really stupid and dumb, that is wrong, feel free to dive in and be like, no, Adam, that's not how NFTs work. You're totally wrong.
I do want to point out that there is a movie doing NFTs already. They may have beat you to that first.
Maybe, which is the one?
I'm looking at it right now on Atomic Assets. I could post that in the chat for everybody here in our group. Let me copy this. I can send the link to you on Zoom here. There you go. But it looks like it's on Atomic Hub. Wax says, world's first theoretical motion picture movie scenes to become available as NFT artworks. The first movie scene and poster scheduled to launch today. Exclusive drop, limited edition movie poster, and then movie scenes are coming out on the 31st tomorrow through April 5th. Arcantis seems to be the name of the project.
So they could be the first if I hadn't minted mine 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
I love it.
he told you, Ken.
I love it.
No, it's amazing. Good timing.
I can't listen. That's a good point, though. I can't say for certain because people are minting stuff all over the place.
It's hard.
So,
Yeah, it is really hard.
And what I put in the release is, okay, is this the first motion picture to be minted? Is it the first documentary to be minted? I know what it definitely is. It's definitely the first Oscar-nominated film to be minted. So I can say that for sure.
Yeah.
But the first motion picture, I mean, here's what I thought was interesting, and here's kind of what I'd be interested to talk about today. Most of what I think we're seeing with NFTs is new stuff, new things that people are creating. And I saw an opportunity to take something from the old world. I don't mind saying that my thing is something from the old world because it brings with it, it's in some small amount, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but it brings a small amount of old world prestige, okay? It's an established film. It's had good reviews. HBO bought it, got the Oscar nomination, played a lot of festivals. It has a life that already existed going back to 2015 in there. And I think that one of the things that's interesting to me and that I'm interested to chat to you guys about is how much of a market there's going to be for NFTs that are new things that are created digitally and live organically as NFTs, and how much there's going to be a market for existing things, and certainly from the company level.
Yep.
I think they're all going to begin by doing what they always do. When DVDs were a new thing, when Blu-rays were a new thing, they package up the old things from the past and they start to sell those, right? NBA got in there quickly. They're selling iconic clips of slam dunks and three-pointers, packaging them up as sort of trading cards, but it's existing stuff they already have, right? It's not new stuff they're creating.
Yeah, it's digital money they haven't printed yet.
Yeah.
And
it's all just sitting in the vault.
Yeah, sitting on a hard drive somewhere, especially animated films, a lot of animated movies, a lot of those sprites and background scenes that aren't even used necessarily in the movie could be, NFTs in their own right. And now you could get the background to Mulana as an NFT, and if you own it, you could use it as a background to a video game like Flappy Birds or something. And you could use this NFT to not just sell content that you already have on a hard drive, but also license it out to be reused. So now if you have a song to a movie that's an original movie music, maybe if I own the NFT, I could put that in my Flappy Bird song with the background to Milan. And all these things that I'm using are NFTs that I've bought, which give me the license to repurpose them.
Yeah, you're mixing it up, you're reworking it, you're making something new from it. Yeah. I'm interested in how much demand, though, there'll really be for old things versus for new things. There are some things that I think for sure there will be a market for. One of the most interesting stories in recent weeks, I don't know if it went a bit under the radar, but there was a story I saw on CoinDesk or some film site that was DC Comics, obviously home to Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Joker, Harley Quinn, sent out a cease and desist to all of its artists and freelancers saying, listen, Batman is ours alone to exploit. It's our IP. We have plans to use Batman in the NFT space. You may not use Batman, freelance illustrators who we hire, freelance artists who we hire, to make Batman-related NFTs and sell them. And that to me, I thought was very interesting because they may not have their head around exactly what it is yet, but they know it's something that people are making money on and that there's a chance to get coin on it. And so you can't get in there first and make money on it just because we haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, you see the walls shoot up immediately like a defense mechanism. Shoot up immediately.
Yeah. And I would think that the first place they could go in is like, especially where Hollywood meets comic book movies and you have really passionate fan bases, there are so many iconic clips, you know, whether that's more recently Jared Leto as a Joker saying we live in a society, or whether that's the Thanos snap, or whether that's the Joker interrogation scene in The Dark Knight, or Captain America lifting Thor's hammer for the first time. These little moments that the fan base feel crazy about could be minted into little clips in limited runs, 100 copies, 1,000 copies, first edition, designed to look like trading cards or something interesting like that. And I think that there could be some uptake for that, you know.
I think
Definitely.
I think it depends on how they're sold and by who. You know, I could, you know, take a Batman likeness and do an NFT, but is it coming from DC or is it just coming from me? And that's going to be a big difference moving forward for, like, you know, that collectible aspect of it is, you know, yeah, I don't think DC should be trying to strike down people making Batman NFT, you know, renditions or likenesses or whatever. But it is funny to see that is motivating them to get into it themselves, because they're just leaving money on the table for other people to walk up and take, and they're seeing them do just that.
Yeah, and what they're going to see is that they'll be combining what they already have with their reputation and monetization capabilities and adding that to this just completely new environment. If they give it utility, it's going to sell like crazy, right, just like those right there.
These are NFTs, Garbage Pail Kids. I bought at Walmart. You can buy these at Walmart and Target right now, and inside comes a card. You scratch this off, and you get an NFT with it. I don't understand why Blu-ray DVDs come with a downloadable Blu-ray file that I can share on BitTorrent and make BitTorrent token for sharing pirated movies, when they could just give me an NFT inside the Blu-ray, and now if I wanted to share that, I'm sharing my private key. Somebody could just take that movie if I shared my private key with Nathan so he could watch that movie with me. If I share that NFT's private key just so he could watch the movie, he could just take it and now it's his. You know, sharing has become a whole different thing. This could make piracy very obsolete.
And people are going to sell albums again physically, which is insane to think about.
Yeah,
we've come full circle to where you could actually sell a CD or a record album again because it has this on it, you know.
So this is where I think I can bring a little something interesting into the film in historic perspective as an old person. I'm an old person at 38. But way back in my career, I began my career writing as a music journalist, writing about the business of the music industry in the UK. And I worked for a trade publication called Music Week in the UK. And this was around 2005, 2006. Just as the music industry was struggling to get their heads round downloads, digital music, and they hit on the winning strategy of let's try and pretend the internet doesn't exist and sue our own fan base.
Yep, that worked.
i.e. Metallica.
Really great. They obviously got it massively wrong, and the film industry learned from the mistakes the music industry made because they didn't get it. They didn't understand it. I remember back in 1999, there's a story, it's a real trip. You can see it on MTV.com archived. Tori Amos becomes the first artist to release a single as a digital download, right? And
that's a name from the past.
Like, why would you want to put music on the internet? I don't
Why would you give it away for free?
Hang on, you pay money but you don't get a CD? What are you getting then? Like a download? I think that's never going to catch on, right? So these things always look kind of weird at the beginning. And yeah, that is a way that it could work, but it seems to me an old world way of thinking about it, the idea that you get a Blu-ray and it comes with an NFT. I'm not sure that the younger audience who are interested in NFTs or who want to buy NFTs necessarily want the Blu-ray.
Right on.
Yeah, they probably don't care because then they'd have to have a Blu-ray player or
most of the time when I want to buy a digital movie, it's not, you know, I do go to the store and just buy the Blu-ray because that's the only real way to get a digital file downloadable of it that I don't have to pay a subscription fee for or a monthly, you know, I don't have to buy Disney Plus and pay monthly. I can just go buy a Blu-ray from Disney, get the physical Blu-ray I don't care about, maybe give that to somebody, and then I get the digital. You're right. That's exactly what I would prefer. I don't even buy physical disc games anymore for my consoles because they break, they get cracked, they get scratched, and I'm paying $60 for a disc that doesn't even read anymore. It's frustrating.
Counter argument, I do because my brother and I swap games. We get, when I'm done with the game, I give him the disc. He gives me
But
the
this
disc.
is where NFTs can solve this. I could have my NFT, and you can
terrible.
give your NFT of your game to your brother, and he can give it right back to you, and it's still no scratches on your discs, and you can transfer. That's where NFTs and digital media are separate. Digital doesn't give you that ability to redistribute, resell, or transfer ownership of. But NFTs are using blockchain technology, which does give us that ability to transfer value or at least sell. And because of that mint number, but maybe I have the first song of those downloads, or maybe I have the 10,000th one that really may not have as much value.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I found wild when I was minting the Landsman film was you can set a percentage of what you get as future resale. Like, do you want 15%, 20%, 30%? Now, I can't overstate how radical this is. In the history of art, there's never been anything like this. In some senses, the entire art market is built upon screwing over artists in the sense that you buy a Picasso for pennies, you sell it for millions, and Picasso never sees any of that money. So the idea that I could sell my NFT for $100, right? But then if somebody sells it on for $1 million, that I get $150,000 of that is wild and fantastic. That an artist can retain a piece of future success for something that then later picks up steam. It's never really been like that in the art world.
Imagine if Picasso's family had the private keys to those royalties they could have got if it was NFTs. The families of Beeple, Beeple's family, the entire bloodline of Beeple will be taken care of for the rest of the entire history of humanity just because of those 10% royalties his family's going to get hundreds of years after he is deceased.
And it allows you as an artist to really pass up on things. Like you can leave upfront money to the people that are greedy, and you can agree to take it later because you actually trust your work is going to resell,
Exactly. And to be fair, I think they're probably taken care of because he has $70 million now.
Fair enough.
$70 million today. I think he sold it all for an Elon Musk Doge NFT, though. I'm pretty sure he offered up the money like the next day. He couldn't spend it fast enough.
Yeah, he's not worried about that money. He knows there's plenty where that's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if Hollywood producers and production studios didn't have to worry about a movie DVD being sold to a fan, and then I sell it at a flea market for $10 or even $1 at a flea market. You're going to be able to get that residual now. This is where Microsoft and Sony really had a battle about 4 years ago with GameStop about reselling their games. They wanted cuts of everything, and GameStop was like, nah, bro. And they were like, fine, we're going to go digital only. No more GameStop. And the community said, if you do that, we won't buy your console. Xbox and Microsoft said, fine, we won't go digital only. And I think with this technology, Microsoft is going to look at it and go, wait, we can do exactly what GameStop's been doing. If you buy a digital game from us, we should let you resell it for probably half than what you paid, and then we'll get 10 or 15% from that resale. This is unlocking a whole new possibility for revenue to industries that just didn't exist before. Like the opportunity just would be a fever dream.
There's a lot of different elements to this in terms of ownership, resale, what people are prepared to pay for. And so firstly, I'm elder millennial, right? The eldest millennial. I have a younger brother, 7 years younger than me, and he's Gen Z. And there's a complete difference in terms of how we view physical objects, right? I had to tell him to buy video games as discs because he wanted to buy them as downloads. And I'm like, well, then I can't play it, right? After you're done with it. But it's not just that. I have like 3,000 CDs. Like I said, I used to be a music journalist, tons of books, loads of DVDs. I like having physical media, right? But for him and for his generation, they have a Kindle, which has 1,000 books on it. They have Spotify, which has all the music that they want on it. They don't want CDs, don't need CDs. Yep. And they rely on Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and all the other places for all their movies. They don't want the DVDs and Blu-rays. So they're just not as attached to the physical, But I think what we are seeing is that they do want to still own something. This is where I think something's interesting. And this is what I think is one of the interesting things about NFTs, right? What you own or what you are interested in is somewhat a reflection of yourself. Yep. It used to be that if you went to someone's house, right, and they had 5,000 horror VHS tapes, you were like, okay, this guy knows his horror. he's got horror tapes I've never even heard of. He sourced them from all over the world. Or if you went and someone had 3,000 jazz LPs, this person is a jazz aficionado. You know, they've spent years collecting this jazz collection, and it's not something that you can just replicate by getting a hard drive with 3,000 jazz LPs on it that somebody copies for you. It's not the same thing.
Right.
So people's interest is a reflection of that. And I think since some of the earliest days of the internet, we've seen people try to reflect that. I think in some ways that was one of the things that MySpace was, that Facebook isn't. It is that because you could use rudimentary HTML on there, but because you could put music tracks on your profile, or you could use whatever fonts you wanted or whatever color scheme you wanted in images and things, it became a sort of attempt to curate who you were on the internet, what your interest is.
Yep.
Visually, a lot of people do that now with Instagram. The Instagram page is visually a representation of who they are, or their SoundCloud is a representation of where their music interests lie. But I think people do want to show who they are, either through something that they own or some knowledge that they have. And the fact that with NFTs, you can display the tokens you own, right? Whether that's on a Rarible.
And you can do this anonymously or synonymously. You know, I can get a good idea of who you are through these digital footprints that you're leaving, or digital clues, and not know your first name or your face, but have a good idea of who you are as a person based off of the Spotify playlist that you share, or me looking at what other NFTs you have. After somebody buys one of mine, I do kind of look at the buyer's addresses, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, wow, they're supporting a lot of underground. They're not buying mainstream. Like, these are the guys that are finding grunge art, you know, and I see that. You're absolutely onto something there. I do tell people a lot of the times they have to be aware of what they're buying, because you are what you hodl. You know, we did this.
Yeah,
we did this before.
You're one of the owners of it, right?
Yep.
You're one of the owners of it, and that's also been a part of the history of art since time immemorial, right? I can give you a copy of Lord of the Rings, dog-eared copy of Lord of the Rings, $5 from any bookstore, right? And what's it worth? It's worth $5. You can get Lord of the Rings at any bookstore for $5. But if I tell you that copy of Lord of the Rings belonged to George H.W. Bush, and he gave it to his son, and his son gave it to his predecessor, and his predecessor gave it to his vice president, suddenly it's a copy of Lord of the Rings that's been owned by 4 US presidents.
Yes.
Value goes way up. It's not just a dog-eared copy of
100%.
and nothing has changed physically in the carbon makeup of the object, but people romanticize the ownership of something because it becomes part of the story of something.
People
right?
will add fake ownership to things that add those values to it. Like, this is a baseball hat that Babe Ruth wore practicing before he got on the team. It's like, but how do you prove that? And then we have all these fake businesses that are designed to trick people into those fake authenticities. And they, in the art world, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry to like counterfeit art and have somebody who knows that it's fake say that it's real just so they can get a cut of that sale. And by the time, 20 buyers later finds out that it's a counterfeit, what are the repercussions? What can be done with NFTs and blockchain? We could actually take physical art, physical props from movie sets. We could use the Internet of Things and tie those physical elements from the set to a virtual authenticity certificate that is an NFT that is not transferable, not burnable, and trapped inside of that physical shoe from the movie set, or the glove from Avengers, that it could be physically tied to the internet using the blockchain, IoT, and NFTs to say, like, that is a book that was actually owned by 4 presidents, because not just their signatures in the back of it, but those timestamps of it on the ledger, signed by wallets that we know they had the private keys to.
Just like why a car is valuable if a celebrity owned it, because you can actually see the chain of ownership.
Yep.
It's been signed on. That's why like people collect famous people's cars over like their personal items, because you can easily trace that back. I think it opens up a whole new lane. And I know people like you are very excited because you're probably like, your mind is probably exploding with different things to put on the blockchain now.
So here's what I'm thinking. Should I sell my NFT, or should I give it to George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, Spielberg, and then have them resell it? And then they're part of the ownership chain, and it has more value just in terms
Artists are doing this all the time. They're giving away their art for free to people like Mark Cuban, hoping that Mark Cuban will sell it for even $1. Just get rid of it, right?
Yeah, I don't want this thing.
That's like that to me is totally wild. So I have a question for you guys, which was part of what I was wrestling with when I minted the film. which is how important you think it is that the actual art that the NFT represents is in the NFT itself. The first problem, and I think one of the reasons why I was able to do this more quickly, is because certainly with the Landsman film as an NFT, it's conceptual. Because when I went to Rarible to mint the token and you upload something there, which in this case is an image, there's a maximum file size of 30 megabytes. Now, an average film is going to be a gigabyte. So this is one of the challenges in terms of films, is getting the entire film itself into the NFT. It's not really going to be feasible unless it's just like so blocky and low res.
It's feasible. It's totally feasible, but it's not feasible with Ethereum or Rarible or any of them at all.
So how important? So if you look at mine, that what's within the NFT itself is the poster for the film, you know, a variant of the film's poster. And what it says is, when you buy the token, I will give you an H.264 version of the film, an H.264
unlockable content, yeah,
unloadable content, and a physical drive that contains ProRes copies of the film.
Physical? Dude, you had me at physical. Yeah, and you're right. Nice. I don't think the NFT in that sense would just be like the flyer of the actual thing. Like, it's a ticket. Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't think it's that important,
they're like man. Added bonuses. But then I'm like, well, does this mean I'm going to be tied into having to host 4 gigabytes worth of film online in perpetuity forever for people who resell it? This is a thing you have to think about and get your head around. So what I wrote into mine is that the first 10 buyers of it who buy the token for the first time will get sent via a Google Drive link the digital copies of the film, the higher res copies of the film, and they'll be FedExed a hard drive that contains those things as well. But for subsequent retails, it becomes their responsibility to provide to subsequent buyers the digital files and the hard drive, and not mine.
Right. I've actually battled with this with a piece I've done with Nanu Burks. We have an NFT. If you buy it, it comes with a physical copy, but that's only to the first buyer. If somebody were to resell this NFT, all they're reselling is that NFT. They're basically reselling a receipt that they bought that came with that physical. It would definitely be up to the secondary seller to say, I will give you the physical, and that would definitely be up to them to actually mail it and things. That's something I've battled with, and I think you're doing the right thing by mailing and doing as much as you can by letting them know that it's up to them in the secondary. And yeah, I don't think that the art itself in the NFT matters as much as what it's backed by when it comes to those, utility or physical or unlockable means of content. But if you looked at other blockchains like Wax and Atomic Hub, the NFTs that you can do on there, you could have those 5-minute clips, and you could have 100 5-minute clips in one NFT. So you could build your entire movie from those clips.
Where are those hosted then?
IPFS.
Okay, and who pays for that? Because
well, you can use pinata.cloud. That is a free service, but you could pay them as well.
Yeah. So, but does the artist let's say you make a film and it's 4 gigabytes in size, right? It's going to live within that blockchain?
It's going to live within IPFS, yes.
Okay. And IPFS is a third-party company?
It's not a blockchain. It's interplanetary file system for basically distributing media across the internet, not the blockchain. But it's decentralized on the blockchain in that sense. It's sharded on the internet.
Okay, so it lives peer-to-peer.
Yes, exactly. Filecoin and Sia, there's a couple blockchains. I think Filecoin's probably going to be the biggest
they're good
alternative solution for IPFS. So people are using Filecoin to put their media on a blockchain. And then when they make their NFT, the API that's calling the data to show that information as the NFT, they're going to be calling it from Filecoin. But right now we call from IPFS to show that media that's represented with that token. Right now I have some that are probably like a gig in file size. I've bought many NFTs that are just, unlockable content like yours, where I just buy a picture, but it comes with a book, and now I can download the ebook just because I bought this NFT. I could easily see you using Wax and Wax instead of Ethereum, Atomic Hub instead of Rarible, and IPFS to probably put your entire movie out as one NFT.
Yeah. Yeah.
or
and so-
sharding it and letting
Yeah, a
people
lot
buy
of
this
people
stuff.
like to collect them, man. You can sell your movie in 5-minute clips.
Well, yeah,
I
break
it
buy
up.
all the little clips, and then I can combine them into one NFT that is a full movie.
For sure. That's again, I think, something that you look at the comic book realm, where there's a long history of things being serialized, right? Being made in. I mean, think about comic book installments. It's you're getting a story in chunks that continues. Or you think of WandaVision, you're getting a different episode each week. Definitely the idea that you can tell a short form story. I mean, it can keep going. It doesn't
Yep.
even need to have an endpoint to it. It can be you mint a new NFT and the story continues every week. You know, it's like a comic book.
Well, what if I bought this documentary NFT of yours, and the next time you make a movie, I get an airdrop of it, or I get an airdrop that gives me a 50% off, and now I can burn it
Yeah.
when I buy this, and I can get 50. There's so much gamification that can be done that the media industry as a whole has never been a part of. Like, imagine knowing the exact shipping address and house to every person that bought one of your DVDs. Wouldn't you just
Powerful.
easily mail them a thank you letter at Christmas every year? This is what can be done with NFTs. You can airdrop a thank you, handwritten NFT letter to every wallet that has bought one of your movies.
You could sell memberships in yourself as a
I would
director,
give you
know.
10 grand right now, and you give me a
Basically.
movie every time you make it. I get one.
Yep.
I want one every time you make one. I get one, just like I would be as if I'm a shareholder in the production company.
Because then you're supporting each other. It's symbiotic, you know.
Yeah,
They
it's like-
understand the valuation is different, but they
Yeah.
support you.
Have you, Adam, have you thought about using this as a means of like a Kickstarter, sort of like how Super Troopers
That's the other
2?
reason that the place that I definitely see this is as a Kickstarter reward,
Yeah.
right? Because it's going to be led by independent filmmakers rather
Oh,
than
absolutely.
studios in a creative sense. And having, you know, for the last film I did, The Curve, we did a successful Kickstarter campaign, raised $62,000 to get it finished. It was a real race to get it finished before the US election, get it out. And the quid pro quo I said to them was, look, if you help us finish the Kickstarter campaign and get the film done, then we will release it for free for 1 week on YouTube for people to watch. No ads in the lead up to the election. Not forever, because we do need to be able to monetize it. I do need to be able to pay the people who work on it. I need to move it to a full sale model then on Vimeo on demand, on iTunes, and so on and so forth. But for that first week, I'll make it available so every American can see it in the run up to the election. And I thought that was a good model, you know, and along the way, I'm looking at incentivized rewards, you know, copy of the script, digital poster pack, physical poster pack, first edition thing. And I think, you know, it was pretty good, but I definitely lent more towards digital rewards for the Kickstarter campaign because they're easier to fulfill. And so I could absolutely see people, you know, backers, they want to support things because they're passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
But they do like to have a little badge that says that they were there at the beginning, that they were an early supporter. And that's always been a key part of Indiegogo and Kickstarter and crowdfunding sites. So certainly the first 100 backers will get a unique NFT that will make of it, and it will say, I was a first edition backer of, you know, this independent film.
What I would recommend for that is using non-transferable, because me and Nathan were talking about this before. People could actually steal valor with NFTs, stolen valor or purchased valor, right? NFTs, you can actually set in the parameters that they cannot be resold, they cannot be transferred, they are stuck in that wallet forever, just like a tattoo on your digital flesh. That way we don't have to worry about somebody saying, yeah, I'm an original backer, look, I have the NFT. And it's like, well, if I look, you bought that from the original backer, you know, it's not the same thing.
I mean, I think that, I don't know, that's a kind of complex argument, because then you're getting more into the sort of walled garden approach, you know. And I think back again to those early days in the music industry and all of their disastrous experiments with DRM, putting crippleware on CDs, trying to put, you know.
Crippleware on NFTs. Adam just blew my mind right now.
Right.
So I was talking with somebody about that in the music industry. Yeah.
It was a disaster.
I didn't
and then
even
it
think
was
of
like,
that.
you could
That's
only play it.
hilarious.
I had to talk yesterday with a guy who's a producer / you know, musician, we're just discussing if that was even possible, and I was saying it's absolutely possible, and it might be the future of this stuff in terms of like the way companies monetize, like you said, the walled garden approach.
Yeah, the walled garden. I think though, for independent artists, the way to go is always to be as open as possible.
Yep.
If someone wants to try and claim that they were a first backer for a film when they weren't, it's like, some guy can put on army gear and go into a bar and say that he's a soldier to try and pick up girls.
Or go into the airport just so he can get on the plane first. I've seen it happen 100 times in airports.
It's kind of pathetic though, and it's kind of counterproductive. Like, you weren't the first backer, so why would you want to claim that you were a first backer for that? And the person who made the film is going to know that you're not. The other backers who were there are kind of going to know that you're not. There is a little bit of that prestige, but as you say, the chain of ownership is tied into the blockchain, so you can see who had it first, who resold it. Even if a backer gets the first edition thing and it says I was a first edition backer, as soon as they transfer it to another wallet, that's another line on the blockchain. You can see that they weren't the first owner.
Yeah, so technically they're a first edition backer. They backed the first backer.
Yeah.
Well, and that gives all of them value. If George Lucas purchased your film and then resold it, that would mean a couple different things for you as an artist. Everybody's going to buy it because he bought it. They're going to be like, well, this film genius wants to watch this film. It must be genius. So it helps a lot of things. Plus the resale, you're creating extra value, obviously. But it just opens that up too. The ownership chain is immense.
Yeah, it is. And for me, that was kind of like, okay, it would be nice, of course, if people paid 2,000 Ethereum for this.
Right.
I could use the money for sure.
If you sold 2,000 of them for 1 Ethereum, it might be a little easier than 1 for 2,000 Ethereum.
Maybe it would be.
This is where prints are going to be fun too.
Exactly. But I was more interested in just the experimental side of this, and of being the first. I thought it'd be nice to be the first. I don't know that we can say for sure what kind of a market there will be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now for NFT. Nobody can say that. They can claim that they know, but they don't know. I do think very strongly, and I'm sure you guys agree, that the technology that underpins them, namely blockchain and cryptocurrency, that's here to stay. For sure.
They'll just go like music did, where now everything that we used to pay for, we stream it, but you have to pay a small fee to stream it. I mean, people are just going to be like subleasing everything essentially.
This year, the first major banks will start to deal natively in crypto. I'm sure at least.
I could stake Atom Benzine coin, provide liquidity to your liquidity pool, just like I would if I bought a $10 Netflix subscription. And because I'm providing $10 worth of liquidity to your pool, it gives me access to your streaming platform. And that's where I see a lot of this is we're already seeing the decoupling from the monopolies that were Netflix and Hulu, and now everybody took Marvel off of Netflix, and Marvel's doing their own thing with Disney Plus. And I think what we're going to see is everyone's going to have their own streaming platform as producers and creators of content come. They'll all have their own subscription-based models where we'll probably use forms of cryptocurrency like staking or providing liquidity and getting rewards as NFTs that are films or scenes from movies. And I think a lot about what you mentioned in the bio for this interview is taking those moments from scenes of movies and doing exactly what the NBA Top Shot did with LeBron James doing a slam dunk. They're going to go back and clip those scenes and make them collectible, just like they took the pictures of the Thanos snap and they put it on a baseball card and they sold that at comic book shops.
Yeah, exactly. And it's Tim Robbins in the rain in the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh.
Here's Johnny with the axe going through the door from The Shining. It's Tony Montana saying, say hello. Just knocked over my laptop there in my excitement. It's Tony Montana saying, say hello to my little friend with his rocket launcher.
Moments from this podcast right now are probably being minted into NFTs that people want to collect.
Exactly.
Yeah, like my goofy face, my dumb smile, probably my bad intros.
Going back to what we talked about people's desire to forge a digital identity in the digital age, then your collection of NFTs starts to become a reflection of you. If you see all these little movie clips and they're all from horror films, you see, okay, this person is a fan of horror films. If it's all comic book things from Marvel films, you know, this person is a Marvel fanatic. If it's clips from documentaries, from my documentary, from Man on Wire, from The Cove, from Fahrenheit 9/11, all these classic things, you see this person, okay, they have an interest in documentaries or rom-coms or whatever it is. People's collection of mini clips can start to be a representation of them, or music videos too. You know, if you have all these clips from Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande and, you know, various other pop stars, that becomes a part of your digital persona. And similarly, if it's all from Daft Punk, Chemical Brothers, you know, or Nine Inch Nails, whoever, it becomes a reflection of, or you know, clips from jazz artists.
I think the key to getting there is scarcity and trying to figure out the right numbers and which to do scarcity. Is this too little? Is this very scarce? Will it not be enough to take off? Or is this too plentiful? Are we flooding the market? Will there not be any secondary resale opportunities? I think there's ways that are going to be probably played on both sides of that, where we'll probably see very scarce collectible digital scenes or moments, and then they'll probably have infinite clippable things or things that won't ever have an end to the printable value. Just like I could download a song right now, there is no limit to how many times I could download that song. I think there's 8 billion so people, probably 12 billion when we market cap the planet on people. You should probably have a $12 billion or 12 billion mint NFT. So 12 billion people could have at least an opportunity to give you $1 to own one of your NFTs, as well as create that scarcity of maybe 100 of those moments that the real collectors can actually trade and collect those scarce ones with as well.
And that's something which we have seen definitively, both with digital and physical.
Disney Vault VHS. My grandmom still trades them with other people who have extra Disney Vault VHSs. I swear to God.
People will pay for things that they're passionate about.
Hell yeah, they
will pay to download a Taylor Swift song that they can stream for free on Spotify because they love her.
Yep.
And they want to support her.
It's the only reason I sell any of my NFTs.
It's always love.
Think, how many times have you had a friend who's released an album or something, and you already have it, but you buy a copy to support them, right?
Yeah.
Because you love them and you want them to do well. And I think this will be the same sort of thing. And this is something that people who don't get NFTs have failed to grasp. They're like, you know, why would you pay all this money for a painting when you could get an exact copy of the JPEG of it for free?
Right.
Misunderstands why people own things. I'll tell you a little story, and it really comes down to bragging rights, right? When you have some of the most famous paintings in the world, Picasso's, when you have Jackson Pollock's, Rothko's, what normally happens, these ones that go for like 100 million, 200 million, right? Some rich son of a bitch buys it. The first thing they get done is they have an incredibly high quality copy of it made. They take the original, they put it in a box, they put that in a very secure warehouse, and then they take the copy and they hang that in their fancy New York penthouse because they can't afford to hang the original in the penthouse because they can't get insurance on it. If there was fire, if there was water damage,
nobody wants to talk about that part of the art. Transferring, insuring.
To hang a copy in your apartment. And there's always been, in the art world, interesting conversations and ownership around what does it mean to own something, right? I mean, you can look up Andy Warhol and his prints of Campbell soup cans. You can look at Damien Hirst. I don't know if people will be up on this, but there's a great British artist, Damien Hirst. He made these spot paintings, and they were like polka dots, right? And he made the first few of these, and then he left his assistants to make thousands more based on his design. And it really raised the question of, well, what does it mean to own a Damien Hirst if his assistant made it? He didn't actually make it himself, like from his instructions. And, you know, like Banksy has always played with ideas of what it means to be permeable, what it means to own something, what it means for something to exist or not exist. Right. You know, when he makes something and his signature is a stencil that's easily reproducible, and it goes on a wall that then gets painted over and the wall gets knocked down, right? So there have always been these questions within art. So I think people who are like, it's ridiculous to pay all this money for a digital painting that you can just get a copy of, that really fundamentally misunderstands the concept of ownership, right? I mean, the guy who paid 70 million for that Beeple, he's the guy who owns that. He gets
His
to
life
say,
is easier than if he bought a $70 million Picasso, because like you said, he doesn't have to reproduce it for his penthouse. He doesn't have to
And
store it in a
there-
temperature controlled room. All these
And there
fees are
will
like
be-
nothing to big collectors.
Yes, and there will be people who will disagree with this. That's for sure. There will be
Yeah.
people who will say, no, the difference between digital and physical, it's a hard line in the sand for me, and then
Yeah.
that's okay. There's going to be a lot of differing lines of thoughts for it, but
Those people will age out very quickly.
Yep.
You know, the older people in the room don't have much time left on this planet, and this technology doesn't necessarily need the boomers to adopt it. You know,
Warren Buffett.
the Gen Zs are going to be the ones here in 50 years that are going to be embracing this, and they're already embracing it. Good luck selling a 12-year-old a physical collectible today when they much rather have a Fortnite skin.
Yeah.
well, this is the thing, right? So I haven't sold my film, but somebody will pay $200 for an NFT of a fart, you know, for the lols.
For the lols, you're right.
For the lols. And I think that I'm interested to see where the market will go once we get beyond for the lols. Because at the moment, at the beginning, it's always a little bit crazy.
We're in a trial and error phase.
Well,
for
what you
sure.
have is unprecedented. You know, you do
Yeah.
have a
Well, I'm interested to
award-nominated film that's tokenized, and you did this weeks ago. So, congrats to that.
Yeah,
Do
seriously.
people want that though, or do they want new things? That's something that I think remains to be seen.
We're gonna find out though. And I'm interested to see. I know that
I
you
don't
are
know,
in terms
man.
of
Like, how old are
marketing
fucking
and stuff.
Garbage Pail Kids? Do you have any
Yeah, they
idea
just
how
came
much
back
work
out.
I had to go through to fucking find
Like,
these at Target and Walmart, dude? This was a 20-day driving around, 30 different stores. It was, and this is, I didn't even want this old shit until they started doing new shit with it. So I think that old shit's gonna have some nostalgic value that is not an equationable part of this equation. It's not there yet, but that variable, once they start to tokenize nostalgic valued things, that is it's unprecedented. I don't even know what to expect.
Yeah, you're never monetizing an item. You're always monetizing people's love for that item or thing.
I think as well, what I have found interesting here is that we are at the stage now. The internet, let's say it's, sort of entered popular consciousness in the early 90s, right? People say 1994, a little bit before. But let's say the internet is more or less 30 years old. We are starting to get to the bit where we have the first generation of nostalgia for the internet, right? And I think that you see that in people wanting to own the first animated GIF of Nyan Cat, or people offering $2.9 million for Jack Dorsey's first tweet, because they think that actually Twitter is a historic thing that has affected the world, And I sometimes think of the internet a little bit like a town. When you're creating a town at the beginning, you just have to populate it with stuff. You're just building. You need houses, schools, fire stations, police stations, markets. You need a docks, you need a railway station, you need an airport. And it's not until a town is about 50 years old, maybe a little older, that somebody tries to knock something down and someone says, hang on, you can't knock that down. It's historic. It has a value beyond its utilitarian value. It has a value as something that has a history to it. And I think we're starting to get to that stage now where people like us think back to things like MySpace, and I don't know if you're old enough to remember GeoCities.
I do kind of.
I
was selling MySpace HTML profile copy and paste kits for my classmates in like 5th grade.
There you go. I mean, GeoCities was a real old world approach to how they thought the internet would work. Well, it's like streets and neighborhoods, and people will have an address on the internet, and it will be part of this GeoCity, right? So we look back at that fondly. We look back at, old web pages fondly, and I think that we are beginning to have a history of the internet that people are romantically attached to. Yeah. In a nostalgic sense.
It happens. People of communities, if like a founder or somebody running a website passes away, the community will actually start to pay the server bill to keep the websites running. Or they'll go back and reach out and say to the companies that are hosting them, hey, we want to pay to get this put back up, blah, blah, blah. And I've seen, communities bring back to life, quote unquote, dead sites because the people running them passed away and couldn't, obviously from the grave manage the bills to keep the servers running. I think that what blockchain can provide to this is a much easier way to make sure that things you love stay alive.
Is blockchain eventually going to be like the internet, how it's nostalgic and we're going to be just selling things just that are blockchain related?
It's very much tied to, I think it's tied to the emotions in people's lives. I remember when I was a teenager, I was going on the internet for the first time. my mum worked in a university, and universities were one of the first to get high speed internet, which is like, 28.8 modem rather than 14.4 modem, right? And the internet at that time was mostly text. When you had a web page that had a picture on it, it loaded like this.
Yeah, the garage door.
But it blew my mind. It just blew my mind as a kid, like all this stuff on the internet. And it really was world changing. I know it's kind of an obvious thing to say, but if you're in that Xennial bridge, which I am, of people who hit right on there and remembered when we got the first cell phones, when we got the first, remember quite clearly life before the internet. It was wild, and I think that for a lot of people, when they have their coming of age moments, they have their important life moments, and it's attached to something digital. Maybe they met their first girlfriend on MySpace, then they imbue a romantic attachment to the notion of that particular thing, or they got their first job through Twitter. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I tweeted this guy, and then we got into a DM.
Shout out to DJ Me Popsicle for the 420 super chat. You know what it means.
I'm honored.
When they tip it, I smoke it. Thank you for the love, community. Appreciate the donation, DJ Me Popsicle.
I didn't do anything.
I think everything that's being tokenized right now in 100 years will be considered, historical. And 1,000 years from now, they'll be considered artifacts. Your NFT today may just be it today. In 1,000 years from now, there will be an NFT archaeologist who has to go to college for 20 years, then goes out into the digital world to investigate NFT historical moments, and has to put this podcast together with that NFT that you did to make sure that they have that history tied to that object for the next book that they're writing for their college class. That's where we're at. We're making history that people will be researching 100 to 1,000 years from now.
That's what attracted to me about this experiment. I have to say, when you talked about limited runs, 10 copies, 100 copies, that was something I really wrestled with in minting it. Because firstly, the whole thing came about very quickly. I was reading about it on a Wednesday. I minted it on a Saturday. I'm trying to get my head around it. Does the actual film need to be in it? And that's a question. How many copies should I make? 1 copy, 10 copies, 100 copies, 1,000
copies? You can make
copies?
5 different copies of the same thing, though, is what I'm trying to say. Right. That one movie, you could have a mint one of the same exact thing. Nothing different at all whatsoever about it. You make 10 of 10. The same exact thing, nothing different. You make 100 of 100. The same exact thing, you make infinitely possible.
And so I could. So this would be like a second edition NFT.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same book, but it has a second edition on the front cover. It's the same book, page for page.
Yeah, for sure. And then again, it goes back to that thing. What are people paying for bragging rights? And again, on Rarible, you can set a buy it now price. And that was like, well, shit, what do? Well, I don't want to sell myself short when people are paying crazy sums, but I don't want to come across as arrogant by putting a ridiculously high buy it now price that's unrealistic. But who knows what's unrealistic in a market where people are paying...
Buying now intimidates people from even submitting a bid for your auction. I've learned this even as myself as a seller and a buyer. If I see somebody saying that they'll buy it now is for 10 Ethereum, I feel disrespectful even offering the one that I have that I could afford to even bid. So it prevents me from even bidding. And a lot of people, I think, feel the same way because they can't even afford to bid close enough to the buy now that it feels disrespectful. And most people that want to buy your stuff, they're not going to want to disrespect you blatantly like that, and it's almost like going to your movie premiere and saying it's $10 for a ticket, and I show up and I'm like, all I got is $5.
If people tell me that as an artist, like, hey, I was going to offer you this on your one thing, I didn't want to disrespect you. And I was like,
I think auctions,
I'll take it.
Auctions are going to be
whatever.
Beautiful for people like you, Adam. The community will let you know what you're worth. And then whatever your first one sells for, that's the buy it now option for your second one. Whatever the second one sells for, that's your buy it now for your third one.
Except the only element that's a bit different here, I think that would be definitely right for native created original digital art, is that I'm bringing something that already has that. So, and on top of that, it's a film that's in the periphery of it's
exponential in
the Holocaust film. It's an Oscar-nominated film. So then I'm thinking, well, I don't want it to be like, I don't want it to sell for like $5.
No, but what if it resold for $5 million?
But but then it's also like
Your
What if you only
buyers-
sold
your
like 100 of
buyers-
them for 5 each,
Well,
and then
here's
they
the thing, though.
reselled for
His
crazy
buyer
amounts?
would become your seller, right? So even if you sold it for $5, that guy's going to work so hard to convince somebody to buy it for $10 from him. The person who bought it for $10 is going to be out there marketing and promoting and shilling and influencing this to be bought from him for $25. And I mean, I've seen somehow most of the time the $1 NFTs that I sell to people, they're the ones they value the most and get resold. And I end up making more secondary commissions from a $1 NFT than I do off of one that I sold to somebody for close to 10 grand right now, because it has not been secondary sold.
No.
It's like outsourcing a lot of your advertising work in a lot of ways.
Would Jack Dorsey have made as much with his tweet? Would Beeple have made as much with his artwork if he had made 100,000 of them and sold them at $1?
So
There is
Beeple's done something interesting similar to that, where he actually has made
$1.
a ton of money on secondary sales.
His $1 NFTs that
for
he's
70 million, there was only one of that, right?
Right,
but he sold an NFT for like $1 and it resold for 600,000 and he made 10%.
Yes, and that happens a bunch of times, and I mean that's what you really want.
And now the people that are buying it for the $5, they might make more money than you. And that's how I see it. My community I'm watching. They are definitely making
They're gonna love
more
you
money
for it.
from me. I don't make as much money from my original sales as I see my community making from the secondary market.
Except me, I just keep everything I buy. I spent another $1,000
There's
on
people
you
also
yesterday.
like me, Adam. I'm probably gonna be like, the Wu-Tang album. What's his name? Mark whatever, right? I always forget his
made
name.
one copy of the Wu-Tang album, right?
Martin Shkreli.
So Mark Shkreli, I could buy this documentary, mint number 1 of 1 or whatever, and I don't want anybody to ever see it. So now I put it in a vault. I put it in my basement, and now nobody gets to see your documentary.
It has mystique, and this has always been a part of art history.
Yeah.
If you take, for example, the Fabergé. If you take, for example, the Fabergé eggs, right? The Fabergé eggs are actually not that impressive in and of themselves. Why do people pay incredible sums of money for them? Why do they have this mystique? Firstly, they're part of Russian history, the House of Fabergé. Secondly, there were only ever 69 of these things. A bunch got lost,
21,
stolen,
I think, are the only ones they found, man.
Now there's only 57 of them.
Oh, they
right?
found 57.
You take a hammer and you smash 50 of them.
That's how you game theory yourself into getting higher value. So if you own like 10 of them, you smash 9 of those, your one is worth more than all of them.
That's what I've been trying to tell Adam. I've been
that's what
literally
people don't
talking
get.
about this for a year. If there's a mint 2 of 2, right? There's only 2 NFTs that can ever exist, and you have burn one of them.
Yeah, like if you owned half the Bitcoin and you burned half of your Bitcoin, your value on the rest of it would go up exponentially in the future.
That actually blows.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Earning money gets you more money.
Yes,
as long as it's capped. As long as
there's a cap, yes, you need a supply cap. Exactly. That's why you can set all
That's why the argument for
it
gold
doesn't
being not valuable, Peter Schiff. The gold thing, what's the cap on gold? That's the question. And that's kind of what we all question is like Bitcoin.
Elon Musk just told Peter Schiff the cap on gold is infinite, and I'm going to go get it. I'm going to prove it.
What you can go back to
gold asteroids out there.
I'll tie this back into a film thing for you. What you can go back to here, a bit of a spoiler for a very old movie if you haven't already seen it, but the James Bond movie Goldfinger.
Okay, I've seen it.
All through the movie, Bond is trying to stop Goldfinger because he thinks he's trying to break into Fort Knox to steal all the gold.
Yeah.
And at the end of the film, you realize that Goldfinger is trying to go into Fort Knox to set off a nuclear bomb to irradiate the US's gold supply so that his gold value will go up.
Yeah, it's going to be untouchable.
I mean, yeah, it's exactly that. He wants to destroy the gold so that his value goes up. I mean,
it's my favorite Bond movie, by the way. Odd Job.
Odd Job, yeah. Odd Job.
So amazing. That's like the best Bond.
I was Odd Job in every GoldenEye 007 game for N64. I was always Odd Job, and people would say I'm cheating because he's short. Yeah.
You can't get headshots on him.
Yeah, you can't see. He just gets under him and starts stabbing you.
I could stand right next to your thighs if you were like James Bond, and you'd look around on N64 and I'm invisible.
Yeah, like this.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That is actually really, I mean, that is, I love that you see that already though, coming into this now, is knowing that, the game theory of it, and knowing kind of that going as an artist and a creator coming into this space. I implore you, embrace the game theory thought process.
Make them
and,
burnable.
and think how to use the bad actors, the game theory engineers of it, to make that an actual feature rather than a bug. You know, because you can't prevent game theory, but what you can do is you can gamify it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've really enjoyed this chat, and I've enjoyed it so much that what I'm going to do, Ken, is I'm going to give you the first of the 10 copies of
What
this
the
Landsman film NFT.
What?
And you can do whatever you want with it, you know?
Dude.
Just because you're taking an interest, and I like that. And
That's
I don't
awesome,
know,
dude.
maybe it'd be worth nothing. But
I'm excited
give
for
you
you, bro.
you have to talk me through exactly how to do it, because I'm pretty new to the wallets and stuff. But yeah.
I'm like,
Dude.
that really means a lot, bro. Like, that's insane.
It seems to me part of the story of it. You've been very gracious and had me on your podcast and that. And
Dude, that's beautiful, man.
That, bro.
if it is a little piece of movie history, it might not be anything more than that, but it's something cool, huh?
No, to me
Yeah,
it is
definitely.
though. That's I can't reach. It's right out of reach. But I have the world's first physical NFT. I have the world's first, sold NFT. I have so many firsties because I've been doing this since 2015. I know my first Bitcoin wallet is tattooed on me. I got this in 2016.
Wow.
I wear it on my chest. This is my life. So to have something like this as a gift, it means a lot more to me than any amount of Ethereum I could have paid for. Like the gift of this.
Yeah, you have
it
to
means
send
a
things
lot.
out into the world and see what they do, and you can keep it, you can sell it, you can do whatever you want with it.
I will never sell, but I do say this, and it's hard because I don't ever want to sell an NFT that I'm holding out of love. But I do know that if I don't list it for sale, it hurts the artist that made it. So I'll list it for like $1 billion. That means, hey, it's available, it's here, but I really, really, really don't want to sell it. And I'm encouraging more people to do this. If you own art by an artist and you're not listing it for sale at a ridiculous price, you're holding on to something that's probably not helping your artist as much as you think it is. You have to put it out there for a possibility to be bought. Even if it's at a $10 billion price tag, at least people will see that the art is being appreciated by somebody that values it that much, that's the only number you'd be willing to let it go for. And for me, this is going to be one of those NFTs, man.
The other thing is, even if you do sell it, it's still going to be part of the blockchain that you were the first owner of it. That becomes the story of its thing. I came on this.
Maybe
podcast.
Somebody would want to buy it just because they're buying it from me. That would be cool.
Maybe. Who knows whose hands these things will change through over the years as that becomes there. Maybe there will be a market for collectible movie things as NFTs, just as people pay to own the first VHSs, the first DVDs,
exactly.
a copy of Gone with the Wind that was first on celluloid.
Yeah, I see that exactly like that. I know people that still collect the first issue Betamaxes of media only because they're collectible content to them. They want all the Betamax movies, so they have to complete that set. People that are going to be buying, NFT movies as collectors, they're going to want a complete set of those. And this is definitely going to be one of those, that you're going to have to complete a set of, owning the first of movie NFTs.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that will prove to be the case. But you connect with me offline by email and.
Oh, the coolest part about Ethereum, by the way, is my Ethereum address is KennBosak.eth. I love it. That's like the coolest part about Ethereum is like, how do I send you something? And people are usually looking for that really long, confusing address. And I'm just like, it's KennBosak.eth. And most wallets, when you type that in, will just go, oh, here's his address, and just send it. So as more people are coming into this space, I do want to mention that as new artists are making art, that you can get something called the Ethereum name service. And it's like $10 or something. It's not really that much money. And your Ethereum address that's really long and complicated, you can just get your name. You can get like Benzine.eth as your Ethereum address. So I have KennBosak.eth. And if you're new to the space and you're watching this, I think that's probably where you should start. Maybe before you make an NFT, realize that you can own your address by giving it a name. So when you mint an NFT, the signature isn't that Ethereum address that's really hard to read. When you mint your NFT, when you have an Ethereum name, it actually says KennBosak.eth minted that asset. So it actually helps eliminate a little bit of that due diligence that you would have to do by investigating the smart contract and the minting addresses.
Yeah.
It's almost like notarizing your Ethereum address.
So I'm not that smart. What I did, because I figured I would need some kind of way of doing this with my old way of thinking, is I created a bit.ly for it. So if you go to bit.ly/first NFT movie, 1ST, big N, big F, big T, and then lowercase movie, that way I could send it to people and just be like, go to bit.ly/1ST, capital N, capital F, capital T, lowercase movie, and that will quick redirect you to where it is on
and the bit.ly works just fine, man. Exactly as expected.
Exactly.
Perfect.
But if I'd known that there was a way that I could create a short URL inherent within the technology of it, I probably would have done that.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's like a bit.ly for your Ethereum address.
It's like a bit.ly for your Ethereum. The whole thing happened so quickly. It's just a fun experiment for me. But I hope you can tell, I am genuinely excited about where this could go, the way that artists across a whole range of different disciplines could be using this. And the innovation will definitely be led by independent artists. Yep. It always is.
Always. Every paradigm starts from the bottom up. It's never a top-down situation, never has been. And whenever it becomes that point in history where we depend on the top to feed the bottom down, the paradigm shifts from that necessity of survival. Right now, we're about to see the have-nots become the haves. Everyone's got Dogecoin except these millionaires, and guess what? They got to buy it from us now. And that paradigm shift alone is scary for them. And I think big companies with these industries that have monopolized a lot of the labor, producers and artists and actors and everything musicians have put into their work, that is gone. They need to revamp everything to stay alive now, or these independent artists will be the next Blockbuster, the next Netflix, the next Adam Benzine will have his own streaming platform that you provide liquidity to stream his documentaries. That's where we're headed. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Vinny, I really appreciate you in the chat. Super active. Yo, Crypto, appreciate you as well. My G. DJ Me Popsicle, thanks for all the super chats. And Brian Soul as well for the super chats. Said take one for me. I'll take another one on the way out, guys. Thank you all so much for the super chats.
Thank you for having me on.
And thank you.
It was amazing to have you.
Thank you for
this is an amazing conversation.
I
honestly.
really appreciate this, taking your time out of your day to come on and chat with us about NFTs.
I really appreciated your thoughts too. It's all very new to me. So
this was an angle that we don't see much on here because it's a little newer. Like you said, you're the first. So it's awesome to have you.
I'm sure you'll have many more filmmakers on here though, right?
Actually.
Definitely, especially after this, and I know that him and I are both kind of working on some things with that. So there's definitely gonna be filmmakers.
Technically, there's an NDA, but I'm definitely gonna be in a movie, so this is pretty cool.
Samesies, I have an NDA, but it's not for being in the movie, but it's about the thing. Yeah,
I'm the worst. All right, hopefully NDAs don't accept crypto when I get in trouble. Anyway, everybody,
Seriously.
Thank you for all your support. Check it out. It's bit.ly first NFT movie, 1ST, capital N, capital F, capital T, lowercase movie. It's right there in the comments. I'll make sure I add it to the description as well. It's right there. And join the Telegram. Get to meet Adam today in Telegram. And as always, have a day, everybody.
Have a day. We love you.
Hello, happy bros. Hey, you're about to get a face full of the Kenn Bosak. He's a mentor. That's what I heard. He's a connector. Oh, yeah. He's a brilliant leader. I've seen it. He's Kenn Bosak. Oh, happy bro. You gotta get some Bitcoin and hold it. Happy bros. You gotta get those NFTs and you gotta hodl that stuff. You gotta hodl it. 'Cause I'm Kenn bro. We got your Bitcoin.
tease and hold them. How many times does he have to tell you? Going to the moon.
We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. 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 Yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Bro, we're going to the moon. Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. Real high. Real high.
Hello, happy bro bros. Come get some Kenn Bosak.